playing for the Vikings. We'll have to see. But I made a post up on the Twitterverse, and I posted it up on all social media. And that's an important thing. I want to make sure this got posted on all the social media sites. You can find the Matt McNeil Show on Twitter, the Matt McNeil Show on Facebook, the Matt McNeil Show on Blue Sky, the Matt McNeil Show on Mastodon, and the Matt McNeil Show on Threads. Exhausting. So here is the post I made up on all the social media last night. Because I had a busy weekend, man. I was in Mankato on Saturday. I was in Duluth on Sunday. I was all over the state.
You were in Mankato and Duluth on the same weekend?
Yeah.
You got some miles on the car.
Yeah, I did. But yeah, it's, yeah. I've been all over the place. So I got home late last night. I didn't carve any pumpkins. That's why I'm covered in pumpkin guts this afternoon. If you could only see, I smell of a delicious pumpkin. I am covered in because I've been covering pumpkins this afternoon because I got home so late last night. But I made a post and this was at 8:30 last night. Hey, Vikings, if you honestly think one of the backups can lead us for the rest of the season, great. All right. If not, well, at least give a call to Colin Kaepernick and check on his health and availability. Check on his health and availability. That's all it says. That's all it says. It's not, he needs to be our starter right away. We need him. He's the only thing that's going to save us. Oh my God. No, that's not what I said. Not at all. Not even close. And I'm a little bit, to say the least, I'm a little bit kind of surprised at the response from that, if you want to know the truth. It particularly in Twitter. Now, there are a few things I want to talk about prior to me getting to the tweet itself and the response to this, because I want to come back to that. The first thing is I want to make sure we say is Twitter is an absolute cesspool. It has become an absolute cesspool. I have around 4,000 followers on Twitter. I've got around 9,000 on Facebook. Thank you very much. And then on the other three combined, about 500. So basically, I have 9,500 followers, not on Twitter. Okay. I have 4,000. I have over twice as many people on the other 4 social media networks. Over twice as many people. I think on the other 4 social media networks, I probably had one person critical of said tweet in a very negative way. That was on Facebook. One person just like, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 blah. The rest of them were either, hey, sounds good, or are you sure he hasn't played in a long time? And that's why I said you check his health. I think it's very clear I said that at the beginning of that, in that tweet, is that you need to check this man's health. This is not a hand the reins over to the guy sort of situation. So I'm going to guess I woke up this morning, total this so far today, about 300 MAGA, all of them, MAGA, as MAGA gets. Flag on the icon, you look through their thread, just MAGA, most of them with like 40 followers total, and that's generous. Most of them posting the same exact posts on all of them, just clearly MAGA trolls. I can't even say some of the stuff they've said about Colin Kaepernick, but it's just there. And it's a reminder that really down deep inside, Twitter is an absolute cesspool, which, by the way, if I can also elaborate on a secondary note here, they have, as a business, X is far from its prior incarnation, the service having lost droves of advertisers and users. Some companies have backed away from the service amid concerns about its content and hate speech, while some users have grown frustrated for similar reasons. The service has seen a 30% decline in the number of people actively tweeting. 30%, that's huge, said the Washington Post. Advertisers left because of the content of the site was worse. Advertising was down 60% in September. 60%. By all accounts, revenue is down, advertising down. Doesn't seem like a smart financial play in regards to this. There are some other numbers here. They talked about Insider intelligence estimate that X will bring down $1.89 billion in advertising revenue this year, down from 54% from 2022. The last time its ad revenue was nearly this level was 2015. Online research is also people are using X less, Twitter less. According to research firm SimilarWeb, global web traffic to Twitter is down 14% year over year. Traffic on the ads Twitter portal for advertisers down 16.5%. Performance in mobile was no better, down 17.8% year over year, based on combined monthly active users for Apple's iOS and Android. Even though the cultural relevance of Twitter was already starting to decline before Musk took it over, it has been the platform no longer exists, and it's been a death by 1,000 cuts. So and they just had a staff meeting where he said the net worth this is what he told employees, was $19 billion. Down a smidge from the $44 billion he bought it for a year ago. He also has reportedly tried to claim that the site itself is only worth $4 billion now in certain realms. $4 billion, which is a 90% plus decrease in value. This guy couldn't run, a truck through a wet paper bag. It's one thing when you look at the guy who's the guy that's on trial for the fake internet company out there that he embezzled all the money from, and he's on trial right now. Oh God, I can't remember his name.
Working on his name too.
It's Sam Bankman-Fried.
Oh yeah,
the
crypto
FTX
guy, right?
Yeah, the crypto guy, FTX trial. He, there's guys like that. That guy basically was trying to rip you off from the get-go. Elon Musk is supposed to be a respectable businessman, and he couldn't run this thing to save himself. It is amazing how bad he is at this. Anyway, I also came across an unbelievable reality in regards to Twitter, what it has shown us. We here have lamented the fact that people don't read anymore. They don't read books, or they don't read newspaper articles or magazines. They just don't read anymore. I would make an argument, considering the reactions I got to this, that people don't even read freaking birthday cards anymore. That is too many words for I don't have time for a novel. 3 sentences. God. It is clear the vast majority of people who have responded to this have basically done the same exact thing over and over and over again, which is Kaepernick. And that's all they saw. They didn't read anything to it. Because I actually thought it was a bit of a nuanced tweet now, personally. And it has, there. What I have discovered, though, through this little exercise, through this little delightful gem of a situation, what I have discovered is that quite literally nothing, pound for pound, triggers MAGA Republicans more than Colin Kaepernick. Nothing even comes close to triggering these guys like Colin Kaepernick. It is unbelievable how furiously angry they are. I mean, I said this online. If you go Kaepernick in a Beetlejuice musical, far-right MAGA people that are there will stop groping their dates. It is really bizarre how triggered. Holy crap. Now, I've had a few of these MAGA guys say, well, I didn't come to your page. It was put in my timeline by Elon Musk. Once again, going back to, well, he's an idiot and he's running his company into the ground. So, that's on him. I didn't come to you. So, you could just delete me and go away. But they've decided to attack. And it's just this idea. Now, once again, and I don't want to get too heavy into sports. I'll just say this. The Vikings got cap issues. They've got some serious problems on what they're going to do. You're not going to Cam Newton, all these other guys that are out there. They already look at what the Vikings have got. They're not going to take a 1 or a half a year deal. They want a year and a half at least. They're going to want to have, they're realizing the Vikings are desperate, so they're going to look for money. When I suggest Kaepernick, it's kind of one of those things where, I don't think he's going to cost too much. Even if he is physically fit and able to go, which is a big if. They say he has been training all this time like he's going to get another chance in the NFL. I don't know if that's true or not. This is why I said very clearly, if his health is okay, you can't just put a guy who hasn't played or hasn't been practicing to play into a situation like this. You just can't. So I don't know what you do there, but it seemed like an option on the table because you got to do something. And once again, let's go back to the tweet, if you don't stay with the in-house quarterbacks you have, which is what is my first suggestion, is if you can stay with these guys, stay with them. It will cost you less. You will have, at least these are guys people know. Might not be the best year. You could have a Purdy situation like out in San Francisco where that guy's regressed dramatically in the last 3 weeks. But you still then can see maybe you might have a gem there. You don't know. It's happened before. Guys have come off the bench and start throwing the ball around, and you give him a chance. The guy did go 3 for 4 after he went on the field on passes. That's not bad for a first guy just hitting there cold as cold can be. That's not. And granted, the Green Bay Packers are just atrocious. They are a bad team, but still. Anyway. I have just been wading through this unbelievable cesspool of violently angry MAGA heads at the mere suggestion that Kaepernick, you can't do that. He's the worst ever. It does bring up an interesting question I might ask Broadcorp when he comes in, is that, and it's a hypothetical, and hypotheticals are kind of garbage questions anyway, but it's more just to get his thoughts on where the mindset is of MAGA. If you were to put a guy like Colin, if you knew in the future that if you put Colin Kaepernick into a team, and this is an incredible hypothetical, we don't even know if he's physically healthy or if he could do it. But say you did, and they won the Super Bowl. Would you rather have that, a Super Bowl win for the Vikings with Colin Kaepernick, or would you rather have them 6-11, out of the running for all the decent draft quarterbacks that are up for grabs, and without Kirk Cousins for next year? Because my gut feeling would be, I think these guys are all frauds. I think they are all frauds. I think every one of these trolls that's out there, if they've all of a sudden found themselves standing next to Colin Kaepernick, be like, Colin Kaepernick, could you please sign this for me? This is great. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Hey, it's Colin. Can you sign this for my kids? All these guys, all of them, they sit there and they say, I would tell him to go away, you anti-American. No, they wouldn't. They would be like, oh my God, can I get a selfie with you? Oh my God, I can't believe it. That's what they would do. They absolutely would. And once again, I'll also add this. This is, like I said, this is a hypothetical beyond a hypothetical, because you're looking at a situation where, it's really a question of whether or not he could even do anything. But if he did, my experience has been is that you may not like a quarterback, but all of a sudden he starts throwing touchdowns, you're going to love him. But I just want to call out because I spent a lot of time actually looking at a lot of these profiles. I don't recommend this. This is a Jumanji from hell. This is just a path down a cobblestone road into the seventh circle. It really is. And I went down and I looked at these guys, and it's clear that these people still honestly think that Colin Kaepernick, who knelt to protest undeniable racial injustice in America, that he knelt to do that as a form of silent protest, that is 1,000 times worse than guys storming the U.S. Capitol, beating police officers, threatening to kill the Speaker of the House and the Vice President, and then smearing their feces all over the walls. That was harmless patriotism. That Colin Kaepernick is 1,000 times worse. It's unbelievable. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. Dave, I'll get your call in just a second after the break. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067, or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. Is your home ready for the holidays? Be honest, how does your carpet look and smell right now? Okay, maybe you have a carpet disaster on your hands, but that's why you should call my cleaning heroes at Zero Res. Some people hire a deal of the day carpet cleaner to save a little money, but trust shouldn't come that easily. Don't DIY it. Call Zero Res because you know it's safe and effective. That's why this month you can get 3 rooms Zero Resified starting at just $149 and take $75 off when you get your air ducts Zero Res clean. Call Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. Spell it forward or backward, it's the same. Zero Res. Refresh, restore, and protect your investment. Call Zero Res to clean your business the right way so your floors and surfaces stay cleaner longer without the harmful chemicals the other guys use.
I'm having a really hard time lately, and I'm worried no one will understand what I'm going through.
I feel so alone. I wish there was somebody I could talk to.
If you're looking for support, Mental Health Minnesota is here for you, with connections to others who have also struggled with their mental health and can provide support and resources. Services are anonymous, confidential, free of charge, and open 7 days a week. Connect today at mentalhealthmn.org or call 855-HERE-FOR-MN today. Sponsored by Mental Health Minnesota, the Minnesota Broadcasters Association, and this station.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show, 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. Dave, Dynamo Dave is in Duluth. He wanted to chime in. Welcome on in, Dave.
Hey, well, thank you for taking my call, Miraculous Matt. 3 things. One, Colin Kaepernick, he's the ultimate victim of cancel culture that these right-wingers are always complaining about the liberals canceling them out. This guy's been canceled from an NFL career going back to the 2016 season. And if you remember, 2017, the Vikings lost Bradford. Case Keenum stepped in. We had the Minneapolis Miracle.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is possible for a backup, to make it. But the Vikings could have taken Colin Kaepernick at that time. And Kaepernick led the 49ers to the Super Bowl the 2012-13 season, remember?
Well, I know that I know this is that it's and thanks, Dave. I appreciate the phone call. I don't want to turn this into a sports talk thing. What I'm mainly pointing out, and this is for everyone out there, you should post something about Colin Kaepernick on your social media pages, on your Twitter feed, and just watch them go crazy. I've never seen anything like this. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, nothing like that. Rosie O'Donnell, nothing even close. I have seen people there that, I have seen people that have been basically just absolutely, the Republicans treat them as a meme. I've never seen anything like this. I have never seen Republicans over and over and over again, basically just constantly, and I mean constantly, just I mean, it is that. And the thing which is funny is that they're like, how dare you, the worst person ever. By the way, you're so triggered. I'm like, am I triggered? It is amazing. I have been blocking left and right. And I don't really have, I don't know what you guys think you offer, because it clearly is nothing there. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. But I'm going to be dead serious. I want to make sure everyone's prepared for this. I am dumping Twitter. I have said this, and I will stand by this. I might actually even move this forward. If on Blue Sky, Threads, and on Mastodon, I get basically 1,000 followers between the three of them, that's the end of Twitter for me. I'm not going to stay up on Twitter. It is just, there is no value there. There is nothing. It is just a cesspool of hate. I mean, it does not surprise me that they are, they don't, Elon Musk bought that thing because he had a temper tantrum that people didn't think he was the coolest guy on the planet. And so he bought it so he could shut down all of his perceived enemies, who, by the way, quickly jumped to other social media sites and are still out there. I mean, Elon Musk's jet is still broadcasting his locations on other different things. And, I don't think anyone thinks he's cool, but I mean, he just looks like a pathetic loser who basically is just so desperate to be taken as the cool kid. And I honestly think that this is also the right running up against that wall again, where they honestly think to themselves, we are the cool kids, we are the popular ones, we are the majority, and they get basically a 2x4 to the face on this, and they're sitting there stunned like, what do you mean we're not the popular ones? What do you mean we're not the right ones? And I got to tell you, especially when you look at AI and you look at politics, I would not be surprised in the least bit, if you saw a situation where, Twitter becomes just a place where such outlandish misinformation propagates. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Twitter, they will lose basically every respectable advertiser they do if all of a sudden they start allowing AI-induced videos of any candidate to go on out there. I think that, regardless of who it is, I'm trying to think of the last time I saw a legit, the Five Nights at Freddy's, the movie. I think that was like the last legitimate advertiser I saw. And most of them are, really weird businesses now that, or crypto. You see a lot of crypto advertising. But I would not be surprised if that is the source of just outlandishly just fake AI induced speeches and stuff that are used to basically just fill the right-wing meme void that they so desperately want fed, the narrative validation that they want. And it just is, it's unbelievable. But like I said, nothing. I have seen things that have made Republicans mad. I have not seen anything like Colin Kaepernick and what oh my God. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950, here to tell you about the exterior construction company I trust, Snap Construction. If your home was hit with the most recent storms, trust the most well-reviewed exterior construction company, Snap Construction, for a free home inspection.
This is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. There are a lot of great construction companies in town. My advice is to take your time and do your research. Make sure they are locally owned and that they guarantee their craftsmanship for life. Also, you want to find a company that's been in business for at least 10 years. You want to work with a company that's going to be there long after the work is done. Snap Construction has handled thousands of claims, and we'll help you through the process.
Don't go with the out-of-town, fly-by-night contractor. Most storm damage goes missed by the untrained eye. Trust Snap Construction for your free storm damage evaluation. For your free storm damage evaluation, call Snap Construction at 612-333-SNAP or visit them online at snapconstruction.com. That's 612-333-SNAP or snapconstruction.com.
Hi, this is Witch Jody.
And this is Greg Bakken. Listen to us Halloween night from 8 to 11 p.m. for a special, spooky, 3-hour episode of Ghost Box Radio, live from the building Midwest Witchery and Healing is located in downtown Stillwater. Because this place is so haunted, we're doing a paranormal investigation of this location live on the air. Though this is not an in-person event, you can still listen to this on the radio, but we suggest you watch us live on Facebook to see if any ghosts show up on camera. So after you take the kiddies out trick-or-treating, join us Tuesday, October 31st for a special Halloween episode of Ghost Box Radio starting at 8 p.m. only on AM 950.
Temperatures are cooling off and fall migration is underway. Do you know what that means? Eagle viewing season is almost here, and the National Eagle Center is your headquarters for information and experiences. This winter, experience bald and golden eagles in the wild with an unforgettable, expert-led field trip. Plan your private eagle habitat tour and learn where the best eagle viewing is with weekly eagle counts. Plus, you can visit the eagles at the center all season long. Plan your visit or experience today online at nationaleaglecenter.org.
Hi, this is Gina. Matthew, I will not read this next line.
I'll be your Snookum Wookums.
Fine. My husband is the sexiest radio host in Minnesota, Matt McNeil.
Dang straight.
When it came time to replace my vehicle, I wanted an option that was safe in the environment. I wanted a hybrid. My RAV4 Hybrid is a greener vehicle without sacrificing style and comfort. I love my Toyota Hybrid.
Toyota hybrids are incredibly fuel efficient. Test drive one today at Rudy Luther Toyota, 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly cloudy skies today with a high near 36. Tonight, light snow with a low around 26. And Tuesday, partly cloudy with a high near 34. Nightingale at 26th and Lindale in Minneapolis is your cozy neighborhood bar and restaurant. Come in for dinner and drinks. Favorites include the pan-roasted halibut and famous Nightingale burger and fries, while for dessert, make sure you check out the chocolate pot de creme. Open daily 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. with dinner until midnight. More at nightingalempls.com.
Schechter here in about half an hour, so make sure you're here for that. Matt McNeil Show, AM 950. I have got a humdinger. I mean, this is just amazing, and maybe it's because I've had, I'm so tired of these MAGA people screaming about drag queens and the LGBTQ community. The reality is, I have actually become convinced that the reason why some children are being abused in this country is because they're just not doing, people are not looking for any other crime unless it has a drag queen involved. And so that people are out there committing crimes and they're turning a blind eye to them because it's not the narrative they want to be true. And I mean, the last week there was a story out of the Star Tribune about 2 teachers that were hired after having problems and then recommitting crimes. And just, if you haven't read that story, that's heartbreaking. On top of that, last week I saw 6 times where it was, not an LGBTQ or drag queen, adult individual who was arrested for abusing children, like 6. And the reality is I think that these people, they probably are seeing red flag behavior around them. And they're just not doing anything about it because, wait a minute, that's not a drag queen show. Jim taking 14-year-olds into his house, that's no big problem. And you're like, what are you talking about? This isn't a news story per se, but it is it's kind of hard to kind of understate how horrible this story is. A former North Dakota legislator from Grand Forks has been indicted on federal charges, including ones alleging he traveled internationally to have sex with minors. The grand jury in North Dakota's U.S. District Court indicted Ray Holmberg, a Republican, on Thursday, October 26. The indictment that was unsealed on Monday alleged he traveled to Prague between June 24th, 2011 and November 1st, 2016, with intentions of having sex with minors. He also was accused of receiving or attempting to receive child porn between November 24th, 2012 and March 4th, 2013. The indictment gave few details on the charges, though it lists aliases of Sean Evan and Sean Evans for Holmberg. Always an interesting sign when you start having aliases involved with a sitting Republican politician. A warrant for his arrest was issued on Friday. Jail staff in Grand Forks and Fargo say Holmberg has not been booked into their jails as of Monday afternoon. As he is scheduled to appear in court on 2 p.m. Monday before Judge Alice Senshall, conditions for bond or detention could be set. The charges come more than a year after the Forum ran a story showing apparent connections between Holmberg and Nicholas James Morgan DeRosier, 35, who recently pleaded guilty to federal child porn charges. We talked about this guy, this politician, about 2 years ago when this Forum story came out, and we were talking about, because what it was is apparently this guy had communicated with this individual, and they found that these two people had connected. But at that point, now I could be wrong, I'm trying to remember this story as we talked about it. The argument was, well, he didn't have the phone with him at the time, so he didn't know who he was talking to, or, even though there was repeated calls and there's an effort to try to get information from these warrants, but the state government in North Dakota apparently was putting up roadblocks to allowing the media from getting access of this. Mind you, these are federal charges now. So this is not the state of North Dakota anymore, which, once again, if I remember the original story, seemed to be putting up roadblock after roadblock to try to stop an investigation into this guy. Once again, I think that there's a lot of stuff that's going on here. In text messages, Morgan DeRosier received while in jail on child porn charges in Grand Forks County. A 77-year-old man from Grand Forks asked Morgan DeRosier to bring Morgan DeRosier's 19 or 20-year-old boyfriend over to his house to give him a massage, according to court transcripts. The child porn charges in Grand Forks were dismissed so federal prosecutors could take over the case. The Forum uncovered through open records requests that from Grand Forks County Jail that Morgan DeRosier and Holmberg exchanged dozens of text messages when Morgan DeRosier was in jail. The newspaper published a story on the text exchange in April of 2022, though it couldn't independently confirm that messages said. Holmberg told the Forum that messages were all about patio work and other things. He also said those messages were gone. In another story published last month, the Forum discovered more ties between the two men. Holmberg gave Morgan DeRosier a ride in October of 2020 to Bismarck so Morgan DeRosier could discuss the construction fraud case with the North Dakota Attorney General's office. Investigations into the alleged construction fraud led to officers finding evidence related to Morgan DeRosier's child porn case. Federal agents also searched Holmberg's home in November of 2021, according to the search warrant. Yeah, that was about 2 years ago. According to the search warrant, officers seized several items from the house, including a state-issued laptop and iPad, according to the North Dakota Legislative Council. The indictment has ordered property connected to the charges, included an iPad and a Samsung phone, to be forfeited to unclear of those state property or personal devices. Holmberg resigned as a legislator in mid-2022, ending a 45-year career as the North Dakota legislature. He was, at the time, the longest-serving state U.S. senator in the U.S. He also chaired the State Appropriations Committee, the Senate Rules Committee, and Legislative Management while in the state legislature. Appropriations decides how much funding to give government. Legislative Management determines which lawmakers to assign to regular session committees, what bills are reviewed during special sessions, and what studies to be conducted between regular sessions. Holmberg was considered one of the most powerful lawmakers during his tenure. He also, by far, spent more money on travel than any other lawmaker from 2013 to mid-2022. His trips totaled $125,810, according to the Legislative Council records. North Dakota legislators roughly spent $2.1 million during that time, which would average out to about $9,200 each for the 229 lawmakers who served in the North Dakota legislature. Records on Holmberg's travel before 2013 were unavailable, the Legislative Council said. So here you have, and I'm going to be very... holy crud, that this is unbelievable in regards to I guess, and that's the thing which I'm having a hard time kind of wrapping my head around, is that how long has this guy been doing this? And how long has it been? I'm going to guess people were noticing things and they either didn't say anything or they basically were intentionally trying to keep things quiet. I don't know. But, here you go again. Not not a drag queen. I can't say it any clearer. Not a drag queen, for God's sakes. What are you doing here? And shame on all the people that basically went out there and did not go on out there and stop or kind of roadblocked the investigation into this guy, which it definitely seemed to happen. And remember, this is North Dakota. Isn't this North Dakota where the guy hit the guy with his car? That was in South Dakota. In South Dakota, where the guy hit him with the car, they found his glasses in the front seat of the car, and the guy basically walked away because they would rather allow a murderer with a R next to his name to walk than actually prosecute them. This, of course, once again, on the other story I was going to bring up today, but, obviously in conjunction, it took Nellie Peterson and a friend a couple of dollars and a few minutes on a background check website to find out that her old high school apparently had not. Mark Kolaski, Peterson's former volleyball coach, and it had a criminal sexual conduct conviction in Wisconsin. Peterson was stunned that her former school, North Lakes Academy in Forest Lake, had hired someone with that history. The details of the case involving the statutory rape of a 16-year-old girl Kolaski coached in a basketball team were eerily similar to her own. Kolaski, now in prison for assaulting Peterson and another North Lakes resident, clearly had a pattern. I think that's what I actually felt like the victim. Minnesota schools handling of background and reference checks for teachers and employees at the center of two high-profile lawsuits, including one from Peterson's alleging that North Lakes Academy didn't do enough to vet Kolaski's background to protect students from convicted sex offender. A separate case going before the state Supreme Court on Tuesday could determine whether districts and charter schools are liable when someone with a problematic past is hired and goes on to abuse students. The state's required. Now, I should mention both of the schools here, I believe, involved are private charter schools, if I'm not mistaken. The state requires criminal history background checks as part of the teacher licensure, and it mandates that districts request such a check during the hiring process. The districts can either go through the State Bureau of Criminal Apprehension or through a private agency contracted by the school, what North Lakes Academy did when hiring Kolaski. In Minnesota, the rest of the hiring protocol is largely up to the individual school districts, many of which are scrambling to fill openings amid widespread staffing shortages. The whole hiring process varies from district to district and state to state, said Jimmy Adams, executive director of the National Association of State Directors of Teachers, Educators, and Certification. Each location has its own process. At the center of the Supreme Court case are the allegations that Harvest Best Academy failed to protect students in its network of North Minneapolis charter schools when it hired a teacher and coach who had been accused of sexual assault by a student at a different school. No criminal charges were filed against Aaron Hermstead when he worked at Excel Academy in Brooklyn Park Charter School, but he was put on administrative leave after the allegations, and the school didn't renew his contract. Not long after, Harvest Best principal hired Hermstead to be a physical education teacher and volunteer basketball coach. He cleared a background check, but the school didn't contact Excel or other previous employers, according to court records. In 2020, a student reported that Hermstead sexually assaulted him while he stayed in the teacher's home. Hermstead is now serving a 12-year prison sentence for assaulting 4 preteen boys he coached over a span of several years and jobs, and the school is being sued for alleged negligence in failing to follow its own hiring protocols. The call to Harvest Best was not returned. The Court of Appeals ruled the school is not liable in the negligent hiring claim, applying the statutory immunity, which can include public schools. Anderson's firm appealed the decision to the state Supreme Court. The Anderson's firm is the firm representing the students, I'm going to guess. While the appeals court has ruling is specific in the facts of the Harvest Best case, Attorney Jeff Anderson said it could not be used to halt similar lawsuits against schools that if it's not overturned by the Supreme Court. This is the kind of case we lose sleep over, Anderson said. We got a number of cases that were yet to be brought and that they are now throwing in our face and saying there's nothing you can do legally. Peterson's case against North Lakes Academy. So once again, we're talking about two charter schools, I believe. I don't know if North Lakes Academy is a private school or a charter school, but it's not a public school. Is on appeal pending Supreme Court decision. And I think one of the things I think that is important about this is that it seems to me that the public school system does indeed have a pretty secure background check system, at least. And what these cases deal with seems to be a faltering case of they seem to just be going through some basic background checks that are not really background checks. As the story began, the one girl did her own background check and found very quickly, it's like, okay, this is a guy that should not be around other kids. At the time of Kowalski's hire in 2015, North Lakes Academy used a third-party vendor called Protect My Ministry. A Florida-based company which specializes in background checks for church volunteers. The basic package uses by the school looks solely, so they got the basic package, looked at solely at criminal records dating back a decade, according to the court records, missing Kowalski's 1999 criminal sexual contact file conviction in Wisconsin. That case cited 5 minor victims. Ministry Brands, a parent company of Protect My Ministry, did not return requests for comment. A lot of people don't want to talk about this now, do they? Hey, North Lakes Academy declined to comment either. Citing the pending case, the school official said a court disposition and the staff didn't ask Kowalski for references or call his previous employer. Said he mentioned to the school's finance director that he had a past assault conviction in Wisconsin, a claim the school denies. Well, I mean, if you said it like that, the school would, in Wisconsin, I mean, if you said it like that, it sounds like you could have, there was a fight after a football game and you're outside of a bar. I think I would like to say that I really do hope these schools get held accountable. Because, and I'm going to go back to this, we have had people show up to public hearings, whether schools or cities, screaming at the top of their lungs about drag queen story, an LGBTQ agenda. LGBTQ agenda. And the reality is, these kids are not being assaulted by drag queens. They're not being assaulted by the LGBTQ community. They're being assaulted by adults who've been put into power that we should be able to trust. And no, don't give me this crap from these school districts about, well, we didn't know. No, you don't hear about stuff like this happening on any large, consistent basis in regards to public schools. And even the story talks about you went and got the cheap package because you didn't want to have to pay too much to do an actual background check on grown adults who are going to be around children. Not drag queens. And I can only imagine, I'm sorry, I think about this guy in North Dakota who's been in a position of power for decades. It is my belief right now that the right in this country doesn't care about stopping this stuff nearly as much as they care about trying to find certain people abusing children. And so when they can't find the narrative of the child abuse that fits their political ideology, they're ignoring the reality that's around us. For a bunch of people that scream, we care about the kids, you sure do a crap job of doing it. And you wonder how. You look at what happened in the Catholic Church. You look at what happened with the Boy Scouts of America. How does that happen? Because people refuse to look at where the actual abuse is happening. Why? Because they so desperately want their narrative be true instead. Just disgusting. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. I got a car accident story to talk about when we do return. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
you rent or own a home, we all likely have nightmare stories about home maintenance, or what I like to call home cringe moments. Join me, your host, Katie Shahan, for the Yarlow Home Cringe Show. See what home cringe-worthy stories we have for you each week as we talk with local home service pros. Learn best practices for winterizing your home or what to look for after a hailstorm. Listen to the Yarlow Home Cringe Show every Sunday at 2 p.m. or on your favorite podcast app.
When a drunk driver hit my car, the structural integrity and safety features of my Toyota Sienna saved my life. I will always own one. That's it. That's the ad. I don't think I need to add anything else, but I'll gladly mention their sales team is attentive and friendly. Their service department is the best in the state, and their vehicles, you can put a lot of faith in the quality and safety of a Toyota vehicle. The structural integrity and safety features of my Toyota Sienna saved my life. I will always own one. That says it all. Rudy Luther Toyota, 5 miles west of Minneapolis on 394.
There really is no place like home. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Home Health. When you're faced with an illness or an injury, being able to stay at home and receive care is important. Our home health offers a wide range of services, including skilled nursing, physical, occupational, and speech therapies, aides, homemakers, in-home respite care, and 24/7 live-in care. We'll work closely with your primary care provider to come up with an individualized plan for you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Hi, I'm Scott Shambot from Shambot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. And we'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
Shamblat Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblatfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Brett, have you ever been around a moose?
I have not. No, not in person.
Have you ever seen the ones over at the Minnesota Zoo?
Probably at some point.
I got to feed them. They brought out the sticks and they let people feed them. Those are big, man. Well, I was mountain biking one time when I lived in Bemidji. I was working up there and I flushed a moose. And the good news was that moose was just as terrified as I was, and we both headed in the same direction. But I've never pedaled faster in my entire freaking life. That was like it was like a huge rock just rose. You know what I mean? It's just that big. When I was up in Bemidji, there was a car accident. A car had hit a moose. The moose was pretty bothered by this and thrust its antler into the engine block through the hood of the car. The police said, "You got to see something crazy?" So it took a like wow, and broke off. It was in there. Moose just kind of added and walked. The moose walked away. Please,
sending a message after you.
Come on,
dare
man.
you hit me?
I'm looking for watercress. Anyway, so this is actually kind of interesting because it doesn't sound like things ended so well for the moose this time around. The moose wandered into a northern Minnesota highway, sparked a crash involving 3 vehicles this past weekend. The crash happened on Highway 53 south of Eveleth. That is south for a moose. I mean, moose used to, you could find moose all the way south of Duluth back in the day. But with the climate change happening, you usually only find the moose now really up on those border lakes, up in that area. I mean, they're not around that much. Down in Eveleth, I mean, that's by where my cabin is. I've never seen a moose in that area. I've seen one out by Ely, and I've seen them over by, I've seen them firsthand over by Bemidji, but I have not seen in my lifetime a moose in the Eveleth area. The Kia Forte made direct impact with a moose, sustaining heavy damage as the result. Wow. Then a Buick Encore also struck the moose while the driver of the GMC Terrain swerved into a ditch to avoid hitting the animal or the other 2 vehicles. The Kia was being driven by a 16-year-old boy from Britt, 16-year-old female passenger from Gilbert suffering minor injuries in the crash. Oh, date night. The Buick contained a 17-year-old male driver and a 17-year-old girl passenger from Mountain Iron and Eveleth, respectively, neither of whom were hurt. The driver of the GMC, 43-year-old man from Aurora, Minnesota, also injured. I'm going to guess the moose didn't make it this time because the first vehicle, the Kia, I mean that thing probably bounced off the moose, but it's the Buick. It's a Buick Encore. That's going to leave a mark. I'm going to guess.
Yeah, they did. We don't have a condition of the moose. I can't imagine it's very good.
But if you head over to Paul's Market in Eveleth, I imagine there might have some moose sausage. I know. I have no idea. I will say this. To one part of me is like, okay, I want to see, are there still moose still around in that area? Well, probably not anymore. That might have been the last one. I mean, there's not many in that. I've gone up to that cabin. I've spent probably 4 or 5 years of my life just going up in that area vacationing. I've never seen a moose in that area. So I think it was probably a fluke, but still, watch out for moose, because that is not going to go well for you. Hour 2, that's coming up next.
At Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, we have wood stoves that qualify for the new 30% income tax credit. A great opportunity to get an efficient stove and heat with renewable energy.
Right now, avoid supply chain delays, avoid the fall rush, avoid bad weather installation, and save money because we are now discounting the price on all chimney parts you need for installation for any of Woodland's new stoves and fireplaces.
We can help you with the stove and the chimney planning. Want to do it yourself? We will help you determine all the parts needed with our installation know-how. We have been installing wood stoves and fireplaces for over 45 years.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood, gas, and electric units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. Save money. Take advantage of the spring and summer chimney discounts when you buy any fireplace product right now at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces.
I'm standing up for the middle class. Tom Hartman here on the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, AM 950, KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
AP News, I'm Jackie Quinn. It was a banner day on Wall Street. The Dow gained 511 points in Monday trading after losses last week, in part on strong earnings reports, like McDonald's, whose stock rose 2.4%, and it raised its dividend.
Treasury yields were also climbing ahead of a week full of economic reports that could guide what the Federal Reserve does with interest rates.
That's AP correspondent Damian Troisi. It's official now from the UAW, a contract agreement reached with General Motors, the third of the big three, that raises pay for workers and ends their strike. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says there will not be a ceasefire in the war with Hamas.
Just as the United States would not agree to a ceasefire after the bombing of Pearl Harbor or after the terrorist attack of 9/11.
He welcomed home a female soldier who was released by militants. There have been protests against Israel in big cities in the U.S., and now state police in New York are guarding Cornell University after threats were posted there against Jewish students. The governor of Maine not commenting directly on reports there were missed opportunities to take away the guns from alleged mass killer Robert Card, who was experiencing mental illness. But Janet Mills says she'll put together an expert panel.
Listen to people first and foremost and see what we might best do.
President Biden today signed an executive order to place some limits on the use of artificial intelligence, noting that while it benefits society, it also brings new danger. Officials continue investigating the death of actor Matthew Perry.
In the end, they really felt that show was aptly titled, that these really were their friends.
Pop culture professor Robert Thompson. This is AP News.
With your choice of select sandwich, nugs, fries, and a drink, Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag is your go-to. Your nugget wingman. Your hot and crispy fry co-pilot.
Just like us. We're like the bag boys.
What?
Bag boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when we bring your food?
For a deal you can count on, bet on Biggie and choose wisely. Choose Wendy's.
Bag boys.
U.S. price and participation may vary. Includes choice of JBC or crispy chicken sandwich with 4-piece nugs, junior fry, and small soft drink. Third-party delivery pricing may be higher.
Hey, Bobby, you ready for football practice?
I don't know, Dad. I don't feel so good.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. Let me check your temp with Exergen. Oh, wow. Yep, you're staying home. Fever 100.2.
Wow, those Exergen thermometers are as fast and accurate as our team.
Exergen thermometers, the smart choice for those game time decisions. The clinically accurate Exergen thermometer is backed by over 100 clinical studies and conveniently located at Walgreens and participating retailers. Learn more at Exergen.
Wade is fishing on a lake and just realized his car insurance bill is due. Should he A, water ski behind a pair of rainbow trout to the nearest post office, or B, pay his bill from Geico's mobile app? The correct answer is B. Paying your bill on Geico's mobile app takes only seconds. A pair of rainbow trout couldn't tow a full-grown man for more than a couple yards. The Geico mobile app is fast, free, and easier to navigate than a couple of fish.
Geico. Wherever, whenever. Just a click away with our free mobile app.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. Is your home ready for the holidays? Be honest, how does your carpet look and smell right now? Okay, maybe you have a carpet disaster on your hands, but that's why you should call my cleaning heroes at Zero Res. Some people hire a deal of the day carpet cleaner to save a little money, but trust shouldn't come that easily. Don't DIY it. Call Zero Res because you know it's safe and effective. That's why this month you can get 3 rooms Zero Resified starting at just $149 and take $75 off when you get your air ducts Zero Res clean. Call Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. Spell it forward or backward, it's the same. Zero Res. Refresh, restore, and protect your investment. Call Zero Res to clean your business the right way so your floors and surfaces stay cleaner longer without the harmful chemicals the other guys use.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly cloudy skies today with a high near 36. Tonight, light snow with a low around 26. And Tuesday, partly cloudy with a high near 34. Nightingale at 26th and Lindale in Minneapolis is your cozy neighborhood bar and restaurant. Come in for dinner and drinks. Favorites include the pan-roasted halibut and famous Nightingale burger and fries, while for dessert, make sure you check out the chocolate pot de creme. Open daily 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. with dinner until midnight. More at nightingalempls.com. Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour number 2 of the show here on your Monday. Good to be with you. Matt and Brett here in your pre-Halloween Eve. Like I said, I am covered in pumpkin today, Matt. I made up a real nice one. I'll take a picture of it tonight. I made up a real ornate one. This next one is seriously just going to be a straight Charlie Brown job, though. just triangle eyes, triangle schnoz, and I might just do a circle for the mouth, and then we're done with it. Give it up. Do you do any pumpkins at all? Or
no,
anything?
I don't. No.
Do you have any kids come by your place at all? Or
No, I don't have any kids that usually come by.
I've got enough candy for the usual haul, but my guess is going to be with it going to be cold. I mean, we're going to get some snow flurries tonight, and then it's going to be cold tomorrow. I still think I'm going to get probably 50 kids.
You think even when it's supposed to be one of the coldest Halloweens, I don't think.
Well, you and Patrick need to be hoping that it does stay cold and we don't get any kids, because obviously you guys are going to inherit all the candy we don't give out.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah,
there'll be a big pile out here, so you're hoping it's not a big crew. And no, you're not going to have any of the Reese's. I'm going to keep all those. That's just those Reese's are mine. All right.
Oh, you're going to give us all the.
Like a bit of honey, little bit of honey action, a little Charleston chew, some chuckles will get you all set up there. Cliff Schechter is kind enough to join us today to talk about politics. Of course, the Blue Amp channel is available on YouTube. If you're not following that, subscribe there. You are absolutely wrong. It's brilliant stuff. I post a lot of the videos there, and they are so good. He's kind enough today to talk about politics and other things. Hey, Cliff. Cliff, you there? Did we lose Cliff?
We'll try him back. Yeah.
Okay. Wait, let's give him a quick ring back. Let's see if we got him here. I will say, underrated. I know I'm a weirdo. I like the Almond Joys, man. I like the Almond Joys. I like Almond Joys, but Butterfingers, yeah. And maybe what it is I don't have them hardly at all. So, yeah, it's nice when I do get to have them. So it's 9529. We got Cliff?
Yeah, we're going to call him back. We're not getting a great connection.
Oh, we're not? Well, it's Cincinnati. It's what is the chili interfering with it? All right. We'll get Cliff on back. A good chance to remind you. Tomorrow is Halloween. Most places have trick-or-treaters tomorrow night. Be careful. Just watch out driving. Watch out tomorrow. I was watching Sven's weather forecast. It could be a little slippery tomorrow. Probably it's not going to be it's going to be windy, so that'll take care of any snow if any does accumulate. But it's just you want to be careful out there and just be careful with the kiddos and have a wonderful, safe Halloween out there. Cliff, are you finally there, my friend?
I hope so. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you, man. Do you get a lot of trick-or-treaters at your house on Halloween?
Yeah, we're on a pretty residential block, and there's a bunch of families on here, so we get a pretty good number. Absolutely. We do our stuff. We carve some pumpkins. You know, we put out the candy. You know, make sure to give the kids some bourbon. I'm kidding. We don't do that. There is one awesome dude in the neighborhood though who always gives out adult treats, as he says.
Oh, really?
And not to the kids, but
Okay.
to the parents. You know, when you bring your younger kids around. Now my kids are 17 and 14, so it's not really an issue. But like when you'd be the parent taking them out, because it always seems like it's so cold. So he'd give you he'd give you mini bottles of like bourbon and stuff like that, which I always found to be pretty cool.
We did have a neighbor like that. He and the other houses there would always get together. They'd have big candy bars, which was great. The kids loved that house. But you also, if it was a cold night, they'd have a little sifter or something for you if you came on by. That was always a nice little treat.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
I also would grab a few of the big candy bars. I mean, those are nice.
Oh my God, dude, who's not going with that? The big Hershey's, to make myself feel better, a big Snickers, because I convinced myself that the peanuts in there because they have protein, that I'm doing something not so bad. I can convince myself of anything, obviously.
But isn't that like the greatest ad campaign? Hey, eat a candy bar. It's protein. Yeah, sure.
I know. I'm sure they did that at some point, right? It tricked me and made it so that they branded it so that it went really well and totally tricked me, and I'm now, addicted. So good work by them.
You and I talk baseball, and I imagine this is going to be a brief conversation because I have looked at the lineups of the teams that have gotten in, that were in the playoffs. By far, the Texas Rangers are the most boring team in the American League. We're having a little debate on whether Miami would have been more boring than Arizona. But needless to say, are you gripped to your television on this World Series? Because I can't get excited about this at all.
I'm as ungripped as you can be.
Yeah.
I told you I wanted you guys to get there, and my other team was Philly. I think Philly would have. I lived in Philadelphia for college, so I'm partial to them, even and as a Yankees fan, I'm not a Mets fan, so the Phillies aren't really competitors with my team. So it was an easy team to embrace, and yeah, I love Bryce Harper. Schwarber was hitting those things 5 miles out of the stadium. Like, that was a lineup to watch. So I was excited for them. I thought they could be so much of a fun team. Once they lost, I would have loved them, and I would have hated the Astros, and that would have given me a reason to watch the World Series if either of those teams made it. But as you pointed out, like, the two most boring teams in the world made it. So I just, Garcia is incredible with some of what he does, but overall, like, they're just not exciting teams. So no, I'm not. I didn't even watch. I haven't watched a game yet.
Yeah.
I had things that I had to be out at and do, but I suppose I would have gone out of my way to cancel those things if I really, really felt I had to watch it. But it ain't winning me over.
Well, and Brett mentioned before, during one of the breaks, he said, well, Houston, I wouldn't want to see Houston there. I said, yeah, but even if Houston would have gotten there, I would have rooted for the National League team just to beat them. There would have at least been that interest. I didn't want them to win. This is just a whole bunch of, I don't care. Two teams I could care less about.
That's the thing, is I wanted the Rangers to beat Houston because I hate Houston with every fiber of my being. So I wanted you guys to beat Houston. I want the Rangers to. But the problem is, once the Rangers actually did it, then I lost. Then there's nothing interesting left, right? So in a way, it would have been better if Houston had won, because then I could sit there and find a way to root for the Diamondbacks like crazy, because I hate Houston so much. But there's no rooting interest. Like, I just had zero care in either direction for these teams, and they're not exciting teams, as you said. So nope. Don't really care. What can I do?
Speaking of boring,
but the Bengals beat the 49ers yesterday.
Yes.
And that was cool.
That was a very nice, solid, and that was a dominant victory on the road too. That was very nice for you there.
That was like the team that we thought they were going to be, that from the past. So I'm going to hope that team remains. It doesn't disappear.
Speaking of going under the radar, Mike Johnson, this was a little bit of a surprise when he became the Speaker of the House. And it almost, the more that comes out on this guy, the more I am like, how in the world did the non-MAGA Republicans in the House go along with this? Because this guy I mean, it's he's quiet, and he has this act he does where he does kind of the folksy town square lawyer from the South, where I talk about this.
Yeah.
The reality is, though, he lies constantly. He's had some incredibly disturbing associations in the past, and his political stances and his legal stances are. I mean, he said he wanted to have an 18th century government, the 1700s. He actually wishes we could go back to that. And I think, and that means everything. I really do honestly think that guy thinks back to those good old days.
He's a literal crazy person. And if they don't use that, the Democratic Party, it will be malpractice. And I've already seen them doing this, so I think they get it. But it'll be literal malpractice if all 18 Republicans in Biden won districts, not to mention about another dozen or so who are in slight lean Republican districts that are winnable for us, or whatever, like Lauren Boebert's district. I mean, obviously the easiest thing with Lauren Boebert is to tire in commercials to Lauren Boebert. But also, but the Mike Johnson stuff is incredibly important. I did a video on him because people have done videos on his obsession with banning abortion, which he now lies about. As you said, he lies so easily. Like these religious nuts who claim that to have some understanding of Jesus and be, more holy than the rest of us, which is, by the way, exactly, if you read anything Jesus said, what Jesus warned you about is to not pay attention to people like that. But these people that do that kind of stuff and then lie with such ease, and they asked him about George Santos, and he's like, well, I don't think we should expel him. I mean, we've got a really small, we really have a small, right now margin. And it's like, how can you, I just feel like yelling curses at him, to be honest with you, which I won't do on your show, but you're just like, you are so full of crap. I mean, here 1 minute you're sitting here saying how devoted you are to Jesus, but the next minute, through the biblical word and the 10 commandments and honesty, but the guy who's been charged with felonies in 2 different countries and has lied about everything from who he is, his name, we don't even know who the hell the guy really is, to the fact that he took donations from people and took their credit card numbers and ripped them off. George Santos, but you're willing to keep him so your margin is padded by 1 vote. But you're going to claim you're religious? I mean, and it just goes so far beyond the nuttery, he's not just against gay marriage. He's not just against gay rights. He thinks we should ban it. We should have, again, sodomy laws.
Yeah.
So he does believe in the 18th century. And then here's the thing, and I've heard women say this who looked at him, the way but some people just are creepy. And these fundamentalist guys who are, it always happens, right? Larry Craig, you're sponsoring the amendment to ban gay marriage, and then we catch you tap dancing. And where? The Minneapolis airport, actually. Your famous airport.
And it is a sexy airport.
How many of these different pastors and people we've caught who lecture everybody about everything, and then we find out, God, the horrible things, them with kids and all. I mean, there's, as I said, the minute we found out about what a religious nut he was, my response immediately was, there's something weird there. There will be. Watch. Anybody who joins religious cults like that, he's crazy. And of course, he believes in this covenant marriage garbage that makes it impossible to get divorced, even if the wife is being abused. But he's tied into the Alliance for Defending Freedom. We're the ones right now, by the way, trying to put a case in front of the Supreme Court to ban birth control. But you've seen the story already, right? About the black son who's 11 years younger than him and doesn't appear in family photos. Like, I knew it. I knew there'd be a creepy Nestor Matt Gaetz thing there, and of course there is.
Well, and let's
go ahead.
Well, I want to bring that up. That's one of the things that's really, really weird about this guy. He has multiple times bragged about this black child that he adopted, which fine, great, that's what you want to do. But someone started to notice that none of his family photos that were officially released included this black son. And then you find out it's a guy that was like 18 when he was 29. And
he's 11 years younger than him.
Yeah, it's weird.
No guy in their 20s adopts somebody who adopts a kid who is a full-on, not just mid-teenager, but late teenager. Nobody does that. It is creepy as hell. And you've always got this weird paternalistic, the way, with Matt Gaetz, it was Nestor, a Latino kid. It's always a minority kid that you see these guys doing it with, because there's this paternalistic, racist, I'm going to take care of you thing about it that I can't even get into. I don't understand. But what are we thinking here? Jerry Falwell Jr., suddenly we find out about the pool boy, John Carlo. There's just the way you knew there was something creepy there. And of course there was. It all came out eventually. I'm going to tell you, I will predict right up, because I predicted there'd be something creepy about this guy. The minute I learned he was a religious lunatic, and already we've got it with the 11-year younger black child who magically doesn't appear in any family pictures. But we're going to find out something. I'm just saying, I'm not going to go into it because I'm not going to say things I don't have proof of right now. But there is something absolutely creepy going on there. And I'm willing to bet you at this point, it is far from all.
Well, and you're
much more.
And here's to back you up. His entire explanation is backpedaling like crazy. Oh, yes, he's a proud member of the family, and we're done talking about it. You can't talk to him for privacy reasons. We're going to do it. I've actually had I saw someone else, and it might be something weird like what you're alluding to. Someone said to me, in some places in the South, people will do this because then they basically they adopt this person, and for room and board, that person has to work for them. And
that's the other creepy thing I'm thinking. Like, literally, we're talking about modern slavery.
Yeah, that's the one thing that it does seem like. This is something that has happened occasionally in some of these southern areas, like where this guy is from, where they feel as if and this is a guy who said we need to take things back to the 1700s, that they feel as if those were the good old days. I wouldn't be surprised if that's why he's desperately trying to get rid of this, is because if he all of a sudden basically adopted a black child just to have him as a servant in his house, come on, man. At that point, you got to have the moderate Republicans themselves, I imagine, would try to throw him out of there.
Well, you'd hope so. But all these ones, they had all these conditions, and even conservatives who trying to pretend they were principled. Ken Buck, I won't vote for somebody who rejected the election. Oh, but you voted for the guy that led the effort to overturn the election. These others who were like, Jim Jordan is too crazy, we can't support him. Some of the more moderate ones from these districts in New York and California, all lined up and voted for this guy. My God, I wish I were running campaigns in all those places. I do have a big email list, and I do have a YouTube channel, and I am going to do everything I can to remind everybody constantly in those districts, because these chumps who pretend they're moderate will try to run away from this, but you let them get away with this, you pathetically lost.
Yeah.
They should be tied at the hip. A bunch of them voted for Jim Jordan once too, by the way, and then backed off later. They should be tied to their votes for Jim Jordan. They should be tied to their votes for this creepy religious lunatic. They should be tied to their support for Donald Trump. There's simply no reason that almost every one of those districts, we shouldn't pick up. And again, another half dozen to a dozen and a half that are anywhere up to Republican +5, that are anywhere from tied to slight Republican districts. They should have to pay for this.
Well, and
this should be out there for everybody.
Well, and we should remind her, ever since they overturned Roe v. Wade, there has been that undeniable about 7-point swing, and so that's out there too. What do you think? You brought up the fact that he was the lead point man in the House to basically overthrow, without any evidence whatsoever, to overthrow the 2020 election in favor of Trump. What do you think of the mentality a lot of people in the left feel as if his job right now is to make sure that in 2024 that the election is thrown out, if Biden wins by a landslide, that it gets thrown out and they install Trump as the president?
I wouldn't be surprised at all that that's why he's there. But that puts the onus on us that much more. It's not the old Congress that swears in, that looks over the electoral votes. It's the new Congress. So kick them out by large numbers, win those districts. There's literally no reason in a Biden versus Trump year, and Trump at that point will likely have been convicted of at least a couple crimes. with this creepy speaker of the House that you shouldn't pick up at least 35 seats, honestly.
Yeah.
And destroy them.
At least.
I mean, you should be aiming for 60.
Yeah.
As you said, a 7-point swing. Well, there you go. But every district, I mean, there will be some exceptions where there aren't good Democratic candidates, and there'll be some other ones where, for whatever reason, there's an actual good Republican candidate. But basically, you should be looking at every district that goes up to R+7, and you should be taking them on. And people forget Adam Frisch, was taking on Lauren Boebert. Now, granted, she's such a moron, and of course, has done so much more since then. But then again, Beetlejuice is a very sexy show, so I understand
really is.
her issues. But I mean, Adam Frisch came within 530 votes of beating her, and she is in an R+6, I want to say, district or something like that. Again, we can win those districts. We should be going for all of them. We should be going to win 50 to 60 of these things to absolutely destroy them.
Well, Stauber, Minnesota 8. He's up in Minnesota 8. I think that's a +1 Republican district now. Even he jumped away from Jim Jordan on that second vote. He jumped away from him and that told me a lot there. But then what does he do? He goes out and votes for the psychopath from Louisiana. So, it's I think all these guys, that was a unanimous vote. And that's one of the things which is definitely, as you said, that's going to be an anchor on these guys as it drags it down and I'm going to bring up something you'd mentioned, the sodomy laws. I think that that this guy has worked for an agency that wants to bring back laws which dictate what kind of sex you can have with your partner in the privacy of your own home. If that is not some sick, twisted, psychopathic stuff, I don't know what it is.
No, I mean, that it is that. Banning birth control, telling you who you're allowed to love and not allowed to love. I mean, he is a creepy, weird little throwback. I don't know if you saw like the picture of him with his wife too. She literally looked hypnotized.
Yeah.
They are some freaky, weird people, and they should be referred to that way. It is not normal. These religious sects like that are not normal. That have that do these creepy covenant marriage things, and the rest of them like no. This guy and everything he represents should be tied around their necks because 70% of this country is pulsed by that.
Oh, it is. First of all, I want to remind everyone, if you're not a subscriber to the Blue Amp channel on YouTube with Cliff Schechter, you need to be. It's youtube.com/C Schechter. I'll link to everything a little bit later on so you can go subscribe there. These videos are coming out on a real regular basis. I post them all on social media as well, so you can find them there. Cliff, outstanding take. We'll have to wait for another baseball year for us to get excited again. But I am feeling pretty good with the Twins pitching staff. It looks like that's going to stay mostly intact. So I'm feeling hopeful.
They look awesome, man.
Oh,
I was sad. I thought they were going to pull it off, but you know what? We got next year.
That's the great thing about baseball. There's always next year. Well, not for some teams, but I mean the Royals, no, not or the A's, no, not really. But everyone else, sure.
Yeah, exactly. The A's, there's always where we'll be playing next year. We're still figuring it out. But,
Cliff Schechter, my show is better when you're on it. Thank you very much, Cliff. I appreciate the time.
Thanks so much, buddy. I appreciate it.
Take care. Cliff Schechter on a show. We'll take a break. Come on back. A quick segment when we do return. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Hey, it's Tom. Fossil fuels continue to have negative impacts on our environment. Luckily, there are more ways now than ever to use renewable energy in your home or business. All Energy Solar offers smart energy solutions like custom solar paneling, electric vehicle chargers, and energy storage. Solar panel systems can last for decades, meaning you can help the environment and cut back on electric bills for years to come. There are incentives and rebates available to most people who install solar energy, too. Last year, the federal solar tax credit increased to a 30% tax credit. This incentive can be used in combination with other incentives from your utility, county, or city. But don't delay or miss out, as many of these incentives are limited to only a certain number of people. So have a professional from All Energy Solar help you discover how solar can power up your property while saving on your energy costs. Call 800-620-3370 or visit allenergysolar.com.
The Park Tavern is your go-to destination for fun. Your friends and your family will have a great time with the fantastic food like the pizzas, appetizers, burgers, entrees, and sandwiches. The best bowling in Minnesota, the wildly popular outdoor patio, great drink specials, all the big games on their numerous screens, and it's the perfect place for your next private event. Even large gatherings for over 200. The Park Tavern is your go-to destination for everyone age 1 to 100. Come see for yourself. Have fun at the Park Tavern, Louisiana Avenue, north of Highway 7 in St. Louis Park.
Considering replacing your vacuum? What do you do with the old one? Throw it in the garage? Worse yet, throw it in the garbage? How about trade it in and save? A1 Vacuum in Roseville has been around forever, and they take trade-ins. When you trade in your old vacuum, you save. So if it's time to replace that old clunker headed for the garage or landfill, bring it into A1 Vacuum in Roseville. You can find A1 Vacuum at a-1vacuum.com or call 651-222-6316.
Yeah. Johnson is weird, and he's also just a consummate liar. Running for Congress in 2016, he signed a congressional term limits pledge to be organized by, they called the U.S. Term Limits. I pledge as a member of the Congress, I will co-sponsor and vote for a U.S. term limits amendment of 3 House terms only. Currently, he's in his 4th term. So, that's all you need. He's a weirdo, man. That whole kid, that whole adopted son thing, there is something there. He cannot get away with it. So we know about this because of old videos where he basically says, Jesus, Bible, Jesus, that's how I lead. And he sits there and he says, I mean, a lot of people, don't know this about me, but I adopted a black child, and that black child, we consider him our family. And, he repeatedly said this. This is not something he said like one time. He repeatedly said this. And that's when people started looking into the family photos and like, there's what black child? There's no black child in any of these photos. Well, then you find out it was a kid that was 11 years younger than him. And someone told me that in some places in the South where the white power sect basically still is in control, they want to basically put slavery back on the menu. And that in some places, what will happen is you will have a family adopt, quote unquote, adopt a black child. That child lives with them and basically does all their chores, cleaning and all that stuff, yard work and stuff like that under this guise. And the argument they say is, well, we pay them room, board, and food, so that's what they get in return. And I said, is that what's going on here? And they said, I don't know, but this is weird. The guy was 29. The child he adopted was 18. And once again, he cannot get away from that story fast enough. He refuses to talk anymore about it. The so-called adopted son is being intentionally kept away from all media because he doesn't want him talking to anyone. I mean, it could be what Cliff is saying, that there could be some kind of weird thing going on the side. We've heard about these things before. I mean, for goodness sakes, we had it in the last hour. We were talking about the longest serving North Dakota congressman senator in history, basically taking trips to Prague repeatedly to engage in child sex acts. Come on, man. That's the charges against him and now under federal charges. It is. And yet once again, because the way these guys have fixed this system and because of the apathy of the left at times, this is one of those things where you just basically, it is what it is, man. These people are able to get in control with just representing a very small portion of the population, and we all suffer. And so I'm tired of freaking suffering. I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired of it. 952-946-6205. Speaking of suffering, the Vikings. It's we got Broadcorp. He actually contacted me this morning saying we got to talk about this. He is sad. We will chat with him when we do return on the loss of Kirk Cousins. It is the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Think your company's safe? Your staff is working from home, right? As I speak, cyber criminals are mounting attacks across the country. Remember, when we're weakest, cyber criminals attack. Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. The Rymark team is guiding our clients through these difficult times. In fact, demand has been so high, we created an easy-to-follow guide. It's yours free. Download our 5 steps to securely work from home now at rymarkit.com or call 651-328-8900 for a no-cost how-to discussion.
Hi, this is Frank Brown, owner of Minuteman Press Uptown, Minnesota's only minority-owned union printing company. And I have big news. We've moved. Our new building in North Minneapolis is much larger with state-of-the-art equipment. That means we can get your projects done faster. We're on Washington Avenue North off I-94 at the Dowling exit, which allows for quick pickup and drop-off with plenty of free parking. And yes, we still print everything. I moved to MP Uptown because as a Black business owner, I want to be in North Minneapolis and help provide jobs. At MP Uptown, we pay above living wages, hire people who have made mistakes in the past, and believe in social justice. We have over 175 Google reviews with a 5-star rating. Let us handle your next print project because when you support our business, you support the community. Call 612-870-0777 or visit mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com. We print everything.
Be a vaccinative. As the fall season continues, new COVID-19 variants threaten the health of not just you, but our elders as well. These new variants might even evade previous vaccines. That's why it's important to stay up to date. The newly authorized vaccines target current variants effectively and are FDA approved for ages 6 months and older. But there is an important note. These are the first COVID vaccines to be commercialized, which means there may be costs associated with them. Speak with your health insurer about your coverage before scheduling an appointment to avoid a surprise bill. For those without health insurance, help is available. Ask your health clinic about options or visit vaccines.gov for free locations. Getting vaccinated protects you from severe disease. Don't put yourself or elders at risk. So be a vaccinative and protect our community. You can visit vaccines.gov for free vaccine locations.
This message is brought to you in partnership with the Minnesota Department of Health.
Next time on Philosophy Talk, referring to the world.
In December 2019, our dear friend Ken Taylor announced that he had a complete draft of a book he'd been writing for years.
Tragically and unexpectedly, Ken passed away later that day.
But thanks to a group of dedicated colleagues, his book has just been published.
So join us as we refer to the world of Ken's ideas.
Referring to the world, next time on Philosophy Talk.
Philosophy Talk, every Sunday at 8 a.m. on AM 950.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly cloudy skies today with a high near 36. Tonight, light snow with a low around 26. And Tuesday, partly cloudy with a high near 34. Nightingale at 26th and Lindale in Minneapolis is your cozy neighborhood bar and restaurant. Come in for dinner and drinks. Favorites include the pan-roasted halibut and famous Nightingale burger and fries, while for dessert, make sure you check out the chocolate pot de creme. Open daily 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. with dinner until midnight. More at nightingalempls.com.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. It is a post-Vikings day, a dark day indeed in Minnesota. And Michael Broadcorp is kind enough to join us today to talk about what exactly happened in Green Bay yesterday. Hey, Michael, how are you, my friend? Are you doing okay?
I'm getting by. It's a mixed bag today. It's certainly going to be a mixed bag today.
Let's talk how positive first. The Vikings, overall, that entire game, absolutely. I can't remember the last time they went into Green Bay and dominated the Packers as much as they did yesterday.
It was great to see. They went in, Cousins and the team just did great. Defense did great.
Yeah.
It was a solid performance. And we were on a good trajectory to come out of there with a lot of momentum. One of the things that you and I have been talking about the last few weeks, Matt, is in the NFC North, is making sure that the Vikings, we were wishing and hoping and praying that they would come out of this game with Green Bay being 4-4. That's where they came. But unfortunately, in that last quarter, we had some challenges that are going to be really going to be season altering. But there was a lot of promise in that game, a lot in the defense, and a lot of just overall play that had a lot of Minnesotans feeling good about this team, particularly where they started the day in terms of their ranking and where they ended. They are now 4-4. They are Detroit plays tonight. They are 2 games as of right now out of first place. And we'll see what Detroit does tonight. But the Vikings could either be still 2 out, or they could be 1 game out of first place by the end of tonight. But we'll see. But there's other heartbreaking news that came out of Green Bay yesterday. Excuse me.
Well, and it should be noted that if and we are basically halfway through the season. If the season ended today, we are actually a playoff team. We are the 7th seed.
Yes.
And so that's the case. So I mean, most people in Minneapolis, St. Paul know this now. Kirk Cousins, moves, it takes the ball, walks back, just catches something. Something happened, and he immediately kind of went down. He had tore his Achilles tendon, of an incredibly serious. It has been confirmed. It is a torn Achilles, and his season is now done. Because it's going to take, basically a year to come back from this.
Let me just say a couple of things. I think that we have been so on Kirk Cousins most of the season and most of we've been talking. But ultimately, there's this. This guy is a huge part of this team. He is revered by his fellow teammates, loved and adored, and he's been a leader on the team. And I just got to say, it's just tough today. And I think a lot of people, and maybe a little bit of me included, have to be, wondering today. We didn't know how good we had it until he was gone. And it's sad to see him leave this way. It's sad to see him be out for the season. He's a good player. He's been a strong player too. Rarely missed a game. I think he missed a game. One game he missed because of COVID, but he's been injury free all throughout his career. And just to put out where he was leading the league with 18 passing touchdowns. This is at the time of the injury. He was leading the league with 18 passing touchdowns, second in passing yards, and third in overall passer rating. And so from a numbers standpoint, he was delivering as good as nearly any other quarterback in the NFL. There are other, issues with the Vikings, but Kirk Cousins was there. He's going to be missed. And it's tough to see it happen. It's just really debilitating for Vikings fans, but most importantly, just hope and pray that Kirk Cousins is going to be okay and that his football career is not over with.
The last touchdown he threw to Addison was a thing of beauty. He put it into a window about a foot wide at 30 yards, and Addison, that was right after the interception, and it was the quick hit. And it was such a pretty pass. I say this not because I want to put salt into wounds, but to make your point is that, Kirk Cousins, as much as a lot of people vilified him, was truly actually has been one of the better quarterbacks in the league for years. It just is that, it's always been the point. For some reason, he came into town, and there has always been this element of hate on Kirk Cousins. But the reality is the guy had an insane amount of talent. And as I think you're seeing now, a lot of people who are vilifying him are all of a sudden now blubbering because they all of a sudden realize the guy that they say they hated, well, he was actually their best chance at getting into the playoffs and making a run there.
He's at 171 touchdowns, 55 INTs with the Vikings. 23,265 yards, yards per game, 264, 67%, 67.9 completion percentage. The numbers are there. You are right in saying that, and I would include myself in some of that category, that he just weren't always sold on him. But the numbers are there, the stats are there, and I tell you, I miss him today, and it's going to be tough. We'll see where the Vikings go. Number of ideas and concepts out there as to where they go, and we'll see what happens. But this is a tough position to fill now for the Vikings, and this is not where we expected to be. But again, I just hope that Cousins is able to come back, and I hope he's not. I hope he's not done with the Vikings.
Well, and I'm going to really put the sports helmet on you today. All right. Okay. So Cousins, his contract was going to end at the end of this year. He's not, and he's going to be a free agent. Clearly, the Vikings are not going to sign him now through the end of this year. I think his best bet to stay in the league is probably the Vikings. I don't see anyone else going out there. He was looking at probably a fairly substantial payday. Now he's probably going to be looking at a short-term contract for less than he was going to be getting. Do you feel as if the Vikings will try to bring him back? I mean, obviously a lot of it hinges on his recovery, but if he does recover, I mean, do you think that there's going to be an intent by the Vikings to bring him back into the fold, or is this kind of a time for them to sit back and not look for a Band-Aid, but look for a complete replacement?
I think it's the job of the Minnesota Vikings is to win a Super Bowl, and that's what the fans of Minnesota need, want, and deserve. And so I think it's tough to see a scenario by which he comes back. I completely agree with your analysis that if he comes back in the NFL, the clearest path is with the Vikings. I think he wants to be here.
Yeah.
And I think that if there is loyalty in NFL organizations, although it is a business, I think he's earned the opportunity to come back and be a Viking. But I just, that's honestly above my pay grade. I just don't know. I can see it from both sides. But boy, oh boy, that last touchdown was pretty at Green Bay. And for him to, suffer that type of injury, and at this time, it's never a good time to have that type of injury. But in terms of where he was in his career, in terms of his contract, I do believe with your assessment that if he comes back, I think it's logical that he comes back to the Vikings, but I don't know if he does.
Jaron Hall, we are basically doing what a lot of people are doing. Like, who the heck is our backup? Kid from BYU, number 16. I am going to find a silver lining here. This kid went in completely not expecting to go into this game. He goes up against one of our divisional rivals on the road. He still goes 3 for 4 of the passes he threw. He did get sacked, not his fault. That was the line failed there. But he didn't look bad. Now, very tiny margin here. What is your thoughts on Jaron Hall? Is this one of those cases where, if the coaching staff has some faith in this kid, understanding there's going to be a learning curve, do you throw him into the fray and let him go as opposed to bring someone in from outside the organization?
I think the smart play for the Vikings is to work on him and to have him go there and to stick with him. There's a lot of talk. Here's the thing. I just, Vikings fans have high expectations. Every NFL team does, but we're in Minnesota. We have high expectations. We want to see the Vikings win. We want to see the Vikings succeed, and we want to see them produce. And so it's going to be tough. As pointed out, we're halfway during the season. We're 8-8. It's halfway during the season. We're 4-4. We're back. We battled back to 500 after starting 0-3. And so there's a lot of Vikings fans who want the energy and enthusiasm to continue. So I think, I saw, Kevin O'Connell today made statements about, didn't commit to going to that direction. I think there's going to be a lot of interest about the fact of whether they bring someone into play. One thing I want to point out is I've had a number of people DM me and talk about Case Keenum. I just have to tell you, if one more person does it, I'm going to change my phone number. If one more person sends me a text about Case Keenum, I just have to tell you, and Kevin O'Connell made a statement that his phone has been going off the hook, and he's been reading some bizarre kind of suggestions that he's been receiving on his phone too. I just don't think going back to Case Keenum is where the Vikings should go. Kevin O'Connell said today, you wouldn't believe some of the things on my cell phone I've received over the last 24 hours. I've had grown adults send me text messages saying, Case Keenum, Case Keenum, Case Keenum. I just don't think that's where that's the stability that this team needs right now. And I think even if you work within the confines of who's on the roster right now, I think that's more of a stable decision than bringing someone in just for 4 or 5 games. I mean, just for the remaining, 7-8 games where we're at and try to limp into the playoffs. I just don't know that that's a way in which I just don't know if that's what the Vikings need right now and what's best for the organization. Bringing someone in, limping in for the last 7 games here and hoping that you can bandage this team back together. I just don't know if that's right for the Vikings.
Well,
what's your take?
Well, and okay. My thought process on this is if you're going to bring in somebody, you're looking for a Band-Aid. As you and I can attest. Okay, so there's some quarterbacks coming into the draft next year. You're not going to you're not going to get them. There's 15 teams currently worse than us, and they're not going to oblige us by getting 5 wins. So, you're probably going to finish out of draft contention there to get one of those quarterbacks. But once again, for every Peyton Manning, there's a Ryan Leaf. So you got to be careful with that. So you have to look at what's around. If you're not going to go with this kid that we've got from BYU, then I think you have to look around. I've had Cam Newton mentioned. I've had Wentz mentioned. And I got something to ask you here, because this is where there's a political element to this. I made the point. I said, my first hope is I actually do hope they stay in-house, because, then they can evaluate, do you spend a trade to move up in the draft to get one of these guys, see what you got in Hall and go with that. That's kind of my first hope that they do, because I'm a little bit wary of where you go. But I would say this is that, considering you're looking at a Band-Aid, most of these guys are going to they know, that Kirk Cousins is probably not going to be back next year. Their agents are going to be demanding a 1.5-year contract, not a 1.5-year contract. They're going to be wanting a lot of money, especially in that second year. I suggested, if he's healthy, you should be calling, and I say this about calling everyone, Colin Kaepernick. I say you give him a call. Has he been working out? Has he been healthy? Because there's a guy you could get pretty cheap if he's ready to go. They went nuts.
I mean,
they went nuts.
The question, and the question right now is who can play. And again,
exactly.
I think we're kind of landing at the same point, which is that anyone you bring in is a Band-Aid. And what's best for the organization is the remaining 7 games of this season. Is it better just to work within the confines of what we have? Is it better to win? Is it better to work through those 7 games with the talent we have on the team right now, with the roster that we have, to try to evaluate and get us into a position where we can evaluate for next season? It's just tough, man. It's tough because we're halfway through the season. The Vikings are 4-4. They started off 0-3. They've battled back to 4-4. They're exactly where we wanted them to be when we were back a few weeks. We're like, if they can beat a 4-4, if they can get back to 50-50, we're cooking with gas. We're ready to go. And to have this happen now, we'll see. I just think I've never been a fan of an NFL team in another city, so I don't know. But I just have a difficult time thinking that the Vikings fan base is ready for the season to be over with.
No,
meaning that we're going to have to work with it. It may be better for the long term. And I think we're kind of both on the same page that working within the boundaries of the roster is the right play. But then you got to figure, we got 7 games left. We got 7 games left in this season. And that's 7 more weeks. That's to January, where we're going to have to be playing, and we're going to be putting ultimately a subpar product out on the field. That's just tough for the Vikings base. And you got to give them a lot of hope. And I wonder, in that scenario, if we go through that, maybe we make the playoffs, maybe we don't. But if at the end of that kind of 7 games of struggle, I wonder what the reception will be amongst the fan base, amongst the team, if what's at the end of that is Kirk Cousins.
Mm-hmm.
That's the tough situation that he's in.
Yeah.
And everyone's in right now.
Well, and I agree with you. If you do go a Band-Aid route, you can't do one that basically is a 2-year commitment, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. So, and that doesn't give you a lot of hope. That's why I think you stay in house. Here's the good news about let's find once again a silver lining here. If you do want to go with the Hall and keep him in house, you got a slate of 4 games here, which really will be a good slate to evaluate him in. At Falcons, host the Saints. At Broncos, host the Bears. Those are your next 4 games. When's Jefferson supposed to be back? Do we know?
Potentially next week.
Yeah. And so you're going to have Addison, Jefferson, KJ Osborne, TJ. They've got a wide receiver core. You can really, with the quality of receivers, you can really dumb down the playlist to a point. And if the kid can do any kind of read and check off and look at different receivers, these are the 4 teams to do it with. You give them a chance, and let's see what happens.
Oh, you're absolutely right. We're coming into a soft part of our schedule right now. We still have to face the Lions twice.
Yes.
Depending on what happens tonight. I mean, every game every game with our division rival is critical to making the playoffs. But we're coming in. We've gone through the toughest part of our schedule, aside from those 2 Lion games. There's a lot of opportunity here, and particularly with Jefferson coming back, we'll see. This is, again, I'd hate to be as much as I've sat and dreamed about being a part of the Vikings management and organizational staff and coaching staff to try to work some magic there. They're in a tough spot right now. They're really in a tough spot. And again, I hope Kirk Cousins recovers. I hope there's an opportunity for him in the NFL to play, because boy, as someone who was sometimes hard on him, I regret some of that, and I hope to see him again in a Vikings uniform, because he is the numbers are there, the leadership was there, and things were clicking yesterday in Green Bay. Things were clicking in Lambeau Field, and it was tough to see.
Here's the good news too, by the way, with those next 4 games, the 5th week afterwards are bye week. So you basically give them the 4 weeks, then you got the bye week, then you can determine what you want to do. But yeah, we'll have to see. The team is pretty loaded. The defense looked really good yesterday.
They did.
Yeah, they did. And boy, did the Green Bay Packers. I don't know if you read the Yahoo Sports takedown on how they said that the Love draft was the worst decision they've ever made. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty harsh. But overall, we can feel pretty good about that win yesterday.
As tough as we have it, someone always has it worse.
Yes.
And it's good to know that Green Bay has it worse today. That's all I got to say. It's good to know that Green Bay has it worse.
Next Monday, we'll check in with you at Atlanta. That's our next game. So we'll check in you a week from today. Okay.
One question. So do they bring someone in?
I think you give unless this Hall kid looks atrocious against Atlanta, and then maybe atrocious against the New Orleans Saints. Unless he looks absolutely just outmanned, outgunned. He looks like Love yesterday. If he looks like Love yesterday, then yes, before you get to that Denver Broncos game in 3 weeks, you have to bring someone in.
Yep, I agree with you.
All right.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Michael Broadcorp, usually our politics guy, but he is our Vikings correspondent through the week. And obviously, if you've looked at any news outlet here in the Twin Cities, it's the number one story going on. Kirk Cousins going down yesterday after the Achilles injury. We'll take a break, come on back, wrap up the show for a Monday. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067, or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
I love my Toyota vehicles, so when I have to get service done, there's only one place I go, Rudy Luther Toyota. They know Toyota's inside and out. It starts with them checking your alignment and tire treads with their Hunter Quick Check Drive inspection service. Oil changes, tires, batteries, wipers, no matter what you need done, they can help you with reliable Toyota parts and the best service team in Minnesota. Check out their website, rudyluthertoyota.com, for service and parts specials just for Toyota vehicles. Get your Toyota serviced at Rudy Luther Toyota, 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
The ruling on the field stands. You can register as an organ donor regardless of your age or health. Even people with conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, hepatitis, or cancer can donate. And age is not a factor. The oldest organ donor ever was 95. Don't fumble your chance to save lives. Get the facts and register as an organ donor today at life-source.org. That's life-source.org. Sponsored by LifeSource, this station, and the Minnesota Broadcasters Association.
I got to tell you the truth, and they are still coming. The angry Twitter posts from MAGA Republicans. How dare you? How dare you talk about him? I this is a good time to reiterate. You know, the planet's got 9 billion people on it. If you're a MAGA Republican, at best, at best rank somewhere around 2 to 3 billion at any given day. You don't mean anything to me. I get these guys that are trying to take swipes at me and trying to throw insults. It's like, you're a random guy with 0 followers. No, I don't care what you think. I don't care. You're screaming MAGA. You're screaming racism. You're sitting there and telling me January 6th was patriotic, but Colin Kaepernick is anti-American. No, you don't mean anything to me because you've already proven to me you're worthless. And that's just the reality of it. Now, I'm hoping I've talked more about sports today than I have. I've got pumpkins to carve, candy to eat. We got trick or treating tomorrow night. We got a lot of things to get. I am not coming in a costume, by the way, outside of slacker radio host. That's my costume. Welcome. So I'll be here for tomorrow for a Halloween edition of the show. Let's move on, people. Have a good one. Native Roots Radio is up next. Till tomorrow. See ya.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950, here to tell you about the exterior construction company I trust, Snap Construction. If your home was hit with the most recent storms, trust the most well-reviewed exterior construction company, Snap Construction, for a free home inspection.
This is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. There are a lot of great construction companies in town. My advice is to take your time and do your research. Make sure they are locally owned and that they guarantee their craftsmanship for life. Also, you want to find a company that's been in business for at least 10 years. You want to work with a company that's going to be there long after the work is done. Snap Construction has handled thousands of claims, and we'll help you through the process.
Don't go with the out-of-town fly-by-night contractor. Most storm damage goes missed by the untrained eye. Trust Snap Construction for your free storm damage evaluation. For your free storm damage evaluation, call Snap Construction at 612-333-SNAP or visit them online at snapconstruction.com. That's 612-333-SNAP or snapconstruction.com.
Come on, you know it's true. Work is almost bearable when the Stephanie Miller Show is on. AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. Israel's prime minister is rejecting calls for a ceasefire as the country's ground forces push deeper into Gaza. Benjamin Netanyahu calls it a turning point.
It is time for all of us to decide if we are willing to fight for a future of hope and promise, or surrender to tyranny and terror.
Tanks and other armored vehicles are advancing on Gaza's main city, and Israeli forces have freed a soldier being held by Hamas. The Gaza Health Ministry puts the death toll since Hamas's incursions at more than 8,300 Palestinians. More than 1,400 people in Israel have died. Meantime, Charles Deladesma reports a truck carrying aid supplies arrived at a hospital in Gaza's Khan Yunis this afternoon.
The World Health Organization truck moves slowly through streets teeming with people, pulling up outside Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, following Sunday's largest convoy of humanitarian aid yet, 33 trucks, which entered the territory from Egypt. Relief workers say the amount is still far less than what's needed for the population of 2.3 million people. The UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, known as UNRWA, has been trying to keep water pumps and bakeries running. Last week, UN officials said hunger was growing. Israel's siege has pushed Gaza's infrastructure nearly to collapse. I'm Charles Deladesma.
The United Auto Workers has reached a tentative contract agreement with General Motors. Deals already struck with Ford and Stellantis. Workers at all three are returning to the job pending ratification votes. President Biden says the contracts are wins for both the auto workers and auto companies.
These record agreements reward auto workers who gave up much to keep the industry working and going during the financial crisis more than a decade ago. These agreements ensure the iconic Big Three can still lead the world in quality and innovation.
This is AP News.
With your choice of select sandwich, nugs, fries, and a drink, Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag is your go-to. Your nugget wingman. Your hot and crispy fry co-pilot.
Just like us. We're like the bag boys.
What?
Bag boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when we bring your food?
For a deal you can count on, bet on Biggie and choose wisely. Choose Wendy's.
Bag boys.
U.S. price and participation may vary. Includes choice of JBC or crispy chicken sandwich with 4-piece nugs, junior fry, and small soft drink. Third-party delivery pricing may be higher.
Hey, Bobby, you ready for football practice?
I don't know, Dad. I don't feel so good.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. Let me check your temp with Exergen. Oh, wow. Yep, You're staying home. Fever 100.2.
Wow, those Exergen thermometers are as fast and accurate as our team.
Exergen thermometers, the smart choice for those game time decisions. The clinically accurate Exergen thermometer is backed by over 100 clinical studies and conveniently located at Walgreens and participating retailers. Learn more at
Hi, this is Frank Brown, owner of Minuteman Press Uptown, Minnesota's only minority-owned union printing company. We have big news. We've moved to North Minneapolis.
Why did you move?
As a Black business owner, I wanted to be part of the North Minneapolis community to provide jobs.
Are there other reasons you moved there?
We have bigger new equipment and outgrew the other location.
What kind of new equipment do you have?
We have new equipment that allows us to print quality signage and banners. We also have a new inkjet printer, printing larger sheets, improving production efficiencies.
Is the new location easy to find?
It's not only easy to find, it's more convenient with plenty of parking. We are now located on Washington Avenue North off I-94 and the Dowling exit.
So do you still print everything?
We print more than everything. We have over 175 Google reviews with a 5-star rating. Call 612-870-0777 or visit mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com. We print everything.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. Is your home ready for the holidays? Be honest, how does your carpet look and smell right now? Okay, maybe you have a carpet disaster on your hands, but that's why you should call my cleaning heroes at Zero Res. Some people hire a deal of the day carpet cleaner to save a little money, but trust shouldn't come that easily. Don't DIY it. Call Zero Res because you know it's safe and effective. That's why this month you can get 3 rooms Zero Resified starting at just $149 and take $75 off when you get your air ducts Zero Res clean. Call Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. Spell it forward or backward, it's the same. Zero Res. Refresh, restore, and protect your investment. Call Zero Res to clean your business the right way so your floors and surfaces stay cleaner longer without the harmful chemicals the other guys use.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for some light snow tonight with a low around 26, Tuesday partly cloudy with a high near 34, and Wednesday partly sunny with a high around 37. The next time you're out in South Minneapolis, make Nightingale off 26th and Lyndale your go-to dining option. It's a comfortable neighborhood restaurant that features a delicious menu of American classics plus a wide drink and cocktail selection. Current hours are 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. daily with a full menu until midnight. More at nightingalempls.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous. Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hit me cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway. They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee. I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local and national Native news and events, and as you know, Haley, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
You're absolutely right, Robert. This portion of the show is supported by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, we're going to start the show off right away here, Wendy and Haley, and I'm hoping State Representative Heather Keeler, are you there?
I am.
Hey, thank you so much for stopping in, and appreciate you stopping in. It's rough times. It's seasonal change, things going on in the news, and maybe we can talk a little bit about mental health.
Well, first, thanks for having me. I feel like I kind of keep showing back up and having these really in-depth conversations, but I I think, Robert, you and Wendy know that, in the 3 years that I've been in this work, I've really advocated for us to normalize the conversation around where we are with our mental health. And, I have Two Feathers Consulting, so I'm doing a lot of conversations with community around holistic health and making sure that as we take care of ourselves, it's not just a physical part of our body, right? Most people are like, oh, I have strep throat, so I'm going to take antibiotics and get better. But realistically, if we're not holistically aligned, we're just not strong in our foundation, and that includes our mental, emotional, and spiritual health. And so, just continuing to address that. I think two political pieces that we enacted this year was our paid family medical leave and our earned sick and safe time, which is saying to employers that when your employees need time off to address mental health concerns, they should be allotted that time. And as somebody who very publicly addresses my own mental health ups and downs in this world, I'll have to be honest, I'm disappointed in our work. Our employers continuously saying like, well, our employees don't really need time off for mental health. And we've seen it play out individually and in our communities and how it impacts our next generations. And so I guess in this space, I just really want to encourage people to normalize the conversation. I think too, as we go into darker days, and longer nights, the weather changes, financial obligations are getting, really hard on families. We just took on all of our student debt again.
Yeah.
That those are reasons that really impact our mental health. And I want to create spaces that we can actually talk about it in a kind and compassionate way, versus this weird kind of stigmatization that we have around mental health.
Heather, I'm so happy that you are talking about this. I think it's really, really so important. And I'm all for the holistic portion of the mental health. I think people really need to do things, for themselves to just help themselves. Rest when you need to rest. It's not, people sometimes, I know for myself, it's like just to rest and veg out on the couch for me for one day is like so hard and I feel guilty about it. We have to like normalize that too. Like it's okay to rest when you're feeling, that like things are really heavy on your mental state, and
Yeah.
as a retired pharmacist, I just want to put this out there too, that medication is okay. Like you mentioned, you have a strep throat and you take antibiotics, but if you have high blood pressure, you take high blood pressure medication. If you have diabetes, you take insulin and other medication. And if you have mental health issues, it's okay to take medication because there are chemicals in the brain that sometimes just don't work, and we need to replenish those chemicals with medication. So I don't want, people to feel like, and I know, 26 years of being a pharmacist, I had so many patients who were like, well, I don't want to take medication. I don't